Hey, it's Detroit Bob. I'm out here for record store day. As you can see, this line is already forming, so hopefully we don't freeze. It's supposed to be spring, but better yet, we get out of there with some good vinyl. Stay tuned.
Record Store Day 2024, here we come. All right.
Yeah, I haven't met you yet. I've been out of town.
Yeah. Are you the owner's son?
Yeah, I'm the owner.
You know, your dad got me back into it.
Yeah.
And it was such a shame.
That's cool.
I had a brief conversation with him. He sold me a Who album, and the next thing I know, I heard the news.
Yeah.
So I owe it all to your dad. He inspired my my channel and everything. So I'll get those two, but I still want to get some from out back. So
Okay.
will you hold it for me?
Yeah. There's some 45s there, and there's a couple in this bin. Oh my
And
God.
then they were holding that Taylor Swift album.
Oh,
for
yeah,
me, too,
okay.
yeah. All right, cool, man. What was your name again?
Alex.
Alex, okay. Yeah, you were Greg's son, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. That's right. All right. It's a madhouse. How's it going, man?
Doing good.
All right. Coming through. All right, I'd like to go back into my 45 room here. That was sort of cool to meet the owner's son. Let's go right to Bob Seeger and start looking. All right, Detroit Bob here. We're looking at these 45s. I always come back here to do that. Detroit Bob. Oh, that's a good one.
At this point, it was such a mad rush to get in the place that my heart is pounding like a big bass drum, and I'm just waiting for the adrenaline to calm down. I literally had the bull rush through that crowd to find the only sanctuary that I knew, Tim's 45 room. My blood pressure is going down already as I'm going through these unmarked, unpriced boxes. No real gems yet, but a couple possibles. So I'm going to sift through these, and I'm going to yank out anything that is a maybe, and I'm going to start creating a stack of stuff to take up front. What was cool is by chance meeting Alex up front. And Alex was Greg's son. We talked about Greg in a previous episode. Greg passed away a couple years ago, but before he did, he sold me a copy of The Who's Quadrophenia, complete with the original booklet. As I came up to the desk, he just looked at me and said, "That's a Desert Island LP right there." And I thought, God, what a great way to put it. I couldn't agree more. I took the album home and I listened to it, and I listened to it again, and I listened to it again. And I remembered how great an album it was the first time I heard it, and what a masterpiece it remains to this day. And yes, if I was on a desert island, I'd want to have that with me. So I started collecting pretty hard and heavy from that point, and even before I got into the 45s. So Alex is the heir apparent, And I think he's doing a good job with the store. I know Greg was in the stereo and vinyl business for years in the Traverse City area. So I think the store is in good hands. And I know these 45s are going to come back and increase in value. So I hope they do, and I hope people check out the 45 RPM room at RPM Records in Traverse City. As I'm sifting through these records, the crowd is building around me. And it's getting loud, and people are starting to form a line that's spilling all the way back into the 45 room. The last thing I wanted. But what I know is I've got about an hour to kill, and it takes me about 16 minutes to look through 1,045s if I spend a second a piece. So I've got about 4,045s to look through, and I got to come out of here with some gems. I just went on that Motown tour, so my eyes are peeled. But what I'm really looking for is my first Northern Soul pick. I don't have the time to go through all 500 on the list, but I do have my ears and eyes peeled for certain names of certain songs that I've filed away upstairs in case they pop up. So let's keep looking, let's keep digging, and see what we find. Okay, here it goes, my armchair definition of what Northern Soul is. To the best of my understanding, Northern Soul is a moniker given to predominantly U.S. soul records that were played in the northern UK at different dance halls and casinos starting in the 70s and 80s and even in a second wave today. And they weren't always your big soul hits that you used to hear on the U.S. radio. They were maybe more obscure, but had a great beat you could dance to. And what happened was there was a little competition between the different DJs to do some deep digging and diving into the American soul lexicon and find unique songs that would put them in their club or their casino at the top of the charts as places to go. So, as things developed, people started collecting these more obscure soul songs, and they became tagged with this label, Northern Soul. And also, they got gobbled up, and their prices and values went up. Not only that, the emotional value of being able to buy a record that you had your first dance to or you danced all night long to in the northern part of the UK in your heyday puts the value of these records through the roof. What a great phenomena that I'm just learning about and picking up on. As a collector, it's making me reappreciate American soul music that's been under our nose for so long. So I'm doing a deep dive. I'm looking for my first Northern Soul, but I'm going to definitely pick up some regular soul along the way. And I need a little Elton. I need a little bit of Motown. And I definitely got some holes in my collection that I'm always trying to fill. So this is just fun because it's a subcategory within a subcategory within a subcategory, if you get what I'm trying to say. I'm digging away. I'm making some good time. I'm flipping through a little Elton file here. Tim does have everything organized and alphabetized. So I'm looking to see if I can just load up on some gaps in my Elton collection. Michael Jackson. What a cultural phenomenon. The Jacksons, the Jackson 5, the Jackson family, they grew up about 15 miles from where I live. Word has it that Berry Gordy didn't want to sign another child artist, but after some pressure, he agreed to have the Jacksons audition and was blown away especially by their young lead singer, Michael Jackson. Now, the band went on to become the Jackson 5, and then the Jacksons, and then, of course, Michael went on a solo career starting at a very young age. Now, we all know about Thriller, but you really, really got to back it up to these early Motown hits. Their first 4 went to number 1. Berry Gordy assembled the songwriting team to make sure that these guys came out of the chute. And I don't have a lot of the early stuff, but I'm going to pick through these and get some of the gems to fill that hole in my collection. I'm in a Motown mood ever since I went to the Motown Museum last week, and I am going to get my fill. So, you know what? Some of these later Michael Jackson releases from Off the Wall or Thriller, yeah, I'm going to pick them up too because they're holes in my collection. I've talked about being huddled around a dorm room TV for Motown 25, circa 1982-83, when Michael Jackson came on stage wearing the hat, wearing the glove, and then breaking into the moonwalk and seemingly defying gravity, blowing everybody away. It was the biggest television moment in music since the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show. So I'm spending some time getting back into Michael, but back then, Michael was everywhere. Michael then took over MTV. He did the Thriller. He did Beat It with a solo by Eddie Van Halen. He couldn't do anything that didn't turn to gold. Wow, was he big. What a cultural phenomenon. I got a chance to see him live with the Jacksons in '84, and sure enough, he did not disappoint. I went into the concert with somewhat low expectations. I was a new wave guy. I was a punk guy. I was a rock and roll classic rock guy. Michael wasn't going to blow me away, or so I thought. I saw him go across the stage. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. The rest is history. So I'm getting back into some regulars now. I'm scanning. I'm running out of time, but I just can't get enough of this room. And if I get out of here with a stack of records worth about $50 that I can probably say is triple that value on a perfect day in perfect condition, I'll be happy. I'm learning a lot, and I'm enjoying Tim's 45 room. I actually have more time today than I usually do at a record store. I'm in a record store for maybe 20, 25 minutes usually, because I go right to the 45s and I know what I'm looking for. So by now, my blood pressure's coming down, and I'm just sort of enjoying taking my time. This is where I start to look into some different genres and a little bit deeper dives. So I'm taking my time a little bit more. I know I've got a decent stack of stuff already, so maybe this is where I can find a Northern Soul. But before I do that, a little light bulb goes off. What have I sold lately? And if the marketplace is buying something, maybe I should replenishment. Well, replenishment means going back artist by artist and trying to fill the gaps in what you've sold recently. I'm thinking Van Morrison. I'm thinking Bruce Coburn. I'm thinking Tracy Chapman. So one by one, I have the rare luxury where I got time to pull their drawers and see if there's any of their discs in those slots. I've already checked for Rush. Rush is always sold out. Talking Heads, always sold out. The Cure, always sold out. But maybe I'll get lucky and hit it on one of these artists. So I told you about the Van Morrison 45 that I bought in New Orleans for $5. Or I take that back. That was Austin, Texas. Bought it for $5 and I sold it for 117. So I already checked the van drawer and it's empty too. So another thing, if I'm looking for it, good chances other people are looking for it too. So I'm running into some of that. But you know what? This is a rare luxury where I get to take my time and just look through some more obscure stuff. And I'm slowing down a little bit, and that's okay. At some point, you also hit a wall where you're like, okay, I can't look at any more records. And you just have to stop, cash out, and come back. And that I will. While we have the time, let's talk about Detroit Bob's 5 C's of record collecting. Number 1, let's talk about condition. Well, if it's wrapped in shrink wrap, then it's in mint condition, right? Well, have you ever seen some of the corners banged up on an LP that was still wrapped in shrink wrap? Maybe it was dropped on one of the corners. How do you know what the vinyl looks like? Maybe it has a factory imperfection. Maybe it has a rub where it was shipped in a truck and rubbed against the inner sleeve for 4,000 miles. So don't assume that it's in mint condition if it's in shrink wrap. What I love about 45s, they're already opened, and very rarely do you find them in even the original sleeve, let alone picture sleeve, let alone wrapped in shrink wrap. So condition is a funny thing. RockMine set the standard for condition. And if you don't know, that's the famous record collecting magazine that's been out for about 40 or 50 years. As a matter of fact, I picked up a free copy of it on the way in today. But it goes down from mint to near mint. A near mint record should look like it's never been played. You literally can't tell if it has. It's pretty darn clean. I always say so clean you can eat off of it. It shouldn't have any scratches or scuffs to the eye. And I'm just putting it in Detroit Bob language here. This is how I grade near mint. Now the cover, the sleeve, has got to be just as good. You can't have any ring wear. You can't have any dinged up or bent corners. It's got to be really, really good to be in near mint condition. And just in layman's language, it looks like it's right out of the shrink wrap. From there, you go to Very Good Plus. And Very Good Plus is just inching up against near mint. But there's something, a scuff here, maybe a little scratch here, just enough to make it not near mint. And boy, does it make you mad when you have to downgrade to Very Good Plus. But you just know, and you almost feel it after looking at about 20,000 and grading over 20,000 of these. You know the difference between a near mint and a Very Good Plus. Then you go down to Very Good, and Very Good is what it is. It's very good. It's not as scuffed up, but there's definitely visible scuffs and sometimes even scratches. I would expect it to still play well, but I'm always a visual grader. I don't have the time to play every record. If you're not sure what the specific definitions of these grades are, go on Discogs and click on their grading tab, and it gives you a very specific grading system. I'm just telling you how Detroit Bob visually grades. from very good, you go down to good plus. Good plus is a well-loved record. It's been played. Its sheen is starting to go away. It's scuffed and it's scratched, but there's definitely some good qualities to the record, and it's not a good, but it's not a very good. It's a good plus. Good, well-loved, well-scuffed, well-scratched, but drop the needle on it, and through all the beginning hiss and pop, once the loud rock and roll starts playing, sometimes good records are just that. They're good. And you can play them, you can enjoy them. They just don't look that good. But they got that cool patina, which makes them classic. They got stickers on them. They got writing on them. Hell no, they don't have a picture sleeve. They're good. So it doesn't mean you can't love it, and it doesn't mean you can't play it. It doesn't mean it won't sound great. But definitely don't get too bummed out if you have a good that skips. Some of them do. Then you get into fair and poor. You know, I really don't differentiate between those two. Some of them can even be cracked down in that range. But you know what? They might look really good on the wall as a decoration, or just as a placeholder if you pick it up for 10 cents. You say, listen, I got a piece of American history right here for 10 cents. I've got heard it through the grapevine that was pressed in. All right, more in condition later. Let's go up front and check out. It's pretty hectic up front. Riley's the guy that you'll usually run into, and he'll check you out. But it's sort of a zoo. It's record store day. Like Riley said, hey, this is our Super Bowl. So I'm staying out of his way. He's counting up my loot, and he's going to give me a total price. I got 2 45s specifically for record store day, and a bunch of them out of Tim's room in the back. And yeah, I picked up the Taylor Swift. I'm just going to keep it in shrink wrapped. I'm not going to listen to it, but there's a chance it might get very valuable. So I'm just going to keep it and watch it to see what happens. What a great afternoon. I'll summarize all this when I get home, and I'll give it a total.
All right, let's see what we got. Record store day at RPM Records. And sure enough, the Blind Boys of Alabama, Don Flemings, Bobby Rush. I've got all these guys on 45, so this was a unique release for Record Store Day. Definitely pick that up. Getting into some 80s, Midnight Oil. If you remember Diesel and Dust, this was one of the singles. So I jumped on that. Go back a couple albums, and probably about 6 years, Power in the Passion. When you can get these Aussie bands in picture sleeves in great condition, like these two where I picked up 2 of those. So Midnight Oil, there's also Dream World off of Diesel and Dust, a great, great song, probably one of the best Aussie bands of all time. And you know I'm on a Motown kick, right? So I started picking this up. I'll Be There, ABC by the Jackson 5. Some of the more obscure stuff. I'm starting to look for those holes in my collection. Right on to Michael, Off the Wall. Ben by Michael Jackson. Rockin' Robin by Michael Jackson. All this stuff is just great. Look at Michael Jackson working day and night. Backed with That's Rock With You. So Beat It. Of course, this is $1 single, but I still got to have it in my collection. Rockin' Robin, a little beat up, but just fill in those holes. And then, you know, look at what's popular now. Elton John is touring. So do you have his stuff? His Border song is an early single on the Uni label, Honky Cat. These are just classics. Remember the Bob Seger system we talked about? Well, this is the one by Hideout Productions. And sure enough, I listened to it, and it's different than this one that I showed you before that I got from Jack White. So it's a different cut, and that's what makes singles so cool and so unique. And it's got a different B-side. So the original one had Death Row, and this one has the B-side of, what's it called? It is Ivory. So Dionne Warwick, don't forget about her. Common, Sonny James on Capitol. I always pick up, if it's clean, singles of Like a Rolling Stone. And this was a nice clean single. I bought one there before. Little known Canadian folk artist. I think he's great. I got into him in college. Wondering Where the Lions Are by Bruce Cockburn. If you don't know about him, pick up his greatest hits package from the late 80s. It's awesome. These collectible labels, I always pick them up. They're always great twofers. And we got Party Lights backed with Disappointed. And, oh, what's this? Red vinyl, or I call it burgundy. So anytime you get that, that just adds spice and jazz to your collection. So you want to definitely do that kind of stuff. Anything that I look at might be soul and it has the word Chicago attached to it, I pick it up. So I picked that up. Once again, the Caravels, sounds like a good Motown spin-off on Smash. Pick them up. Oh, guess what? Detroit Bob got his first Northern Soul. This is number 211 on the list. My buddy from England sent me Northern Soul by the Contour. So you always want to pick that. Do You Love Me? And first I look at the purse up, but just a little misunderstanding. I know the song, but it's not their top hit. It's probably number 3, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. David Ruffin, remember he was the lead singer of the Temptations for a while, went on to do solo work. Walk Away from Love gets a lot of play on Smokey Soul Town. Walk Away, picked up a second. Don't be afraid to pick up 2 of these things. My Whole World Ended When You Left Me. Once again, David Ruffin. And try to get the obscure stuff. You're going to have a tendency to want to pick up hits every time, but it's these obscure ones that have the most value. And wow, I was on a Motown roll on the heels of my visit to Detroit. So I really jumped on these Motown releases. Ball of Confusion by the Temptations. All I Need, a little earlier, more obscure. And look at these original Motown sleeves. We talked about these last week. Sugar Daddy's more obscure Jackson 5 release. And I don't know if that sleeve went with that record, but it sure looks like it could have. Now this, I'm quite sure, was a very common Motown sleeve. And I've seen this a lot, but look at how cool that is. They're just doing some cool advertising for all their other bands. And what great marketing that is, of course. The Sound of Young America. I almost bought this for the sleeve more than I did for the record. But it's got a Jackson 5, a more obscure one. So look at that. The Sound of Young America. What a great marketing slogan that is. And it just makes you want to buy. And, here's some of the more spoken word stuff that Motown was putting out. So they were getting a little political, and they were actually helping trying to promote the agendas of the movement with Martin Luther King. So some of the spoken word stuff is very collectible too. So I suggest you pick it up. Michael Jackson, even the common stuff, I just don't have a lot. The Moody Blues, this came out when I was in high school. I just liked the cover art. Looks like some old English thing. Ohio Players, I'm getting into my soul. And, I don't have this. It's a hole in my collection. Marvin Gaye, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. You've heard this song a million times, and you never get sick of it. That's how good the songwriting is. Back to Record Store Day. I don't know who Frank Turner is, and I don't know who the girl from the record shop is, but it just caught my eye and intrigued me, so I bought it. And I looked it up, and it's already doing well value-wise, so I've more than made back my $20 in terms of value. Tracy Chapman, I recently sold one of her 45s, Fast Car. I think it's Luke Combs that covered it, but it's getting really popular on the radio. So there it is. There's the Ace, a Fast Car. So I picked up everything she had in the shop. Tracy Chapman, another Fast Car. Baby, Can I Hold You? And it's a promo. So it's a white label promo. Pick that up. For You, I think this is another Fast Car. I got them reversed now. I just picked them all up. I'm like, that's a good one to invest in because I think it's sort of an anthem for the discontent that she was feeling and a lot of kids are feeling today. Behind the Wall, another more obscure one. Talking About a Revolution, I think was on the same album as Fast Car. I remember that getting some MTV play. And Baby Can I Hold You, the regular release version. So definitely I picked all this stuff up. Getting into Elton, I have a lot of holes, but I remember when I was probably 12, this song was on the radio every 5 minutes. Pretty cool B-side on this is I Saw Her Standing There featuring John Lennon. So that's, I would call that a twofer for sure. So that's something that you want to have in your collection. Pretty good condition on the picture sleeve, really dusty. That needs a great cleaning. That's probably a very good plus if you get it cleaned up. Someone saved my life tonight. Sort of running out of gas on that like 5-year streak that Elton had, but it's a great slow build up and a great song and really carries the whole album. Skyline Pigeon, I remember my sister bought me the album, but Daniel is the big hit off the greatest hits, and it's album oriented rock. It was on light rock channels, and it's a great song, you know, you can't deny it. The Who, boy, did we want this album to be a great album. And I was a senior in high school when it came out, and it ended up being sort of and the artwork on this is sort of So we started high school with Who Are You, and we ended with You Better, You Better, You Bet. Still, I had a hole and I needed to fill it, so I got it. Smokey Robinson, I'm going to see him next month. So Being With You is a big hit. Came out in 81. Oh, don't mind that. And there you go. So out of these, I'm going to pick the gem of the week. I'll come right back and we'll do that.
Right. You have to enter all your stuff in Discogs to keep it organized so you don't lose track of what you got in your collection. So starting with the Dead Heat up top here, and then moving on, Power and Passion, there's the 2 copies that I talked about. And I won't spend a lot of time on these, but as we went down through all the Jacksons and the Michael Jackson stuff, it's all right there in my collection now. Now I can click on any one of these and check it out. This Bob Seger surprised me. So you click on it and you're like, well, why? 1968. But look at the value on that. If you get up to that $16, $45 value, that's pretty good for a 45 that you didn't think had a lot of history. Well, it turns out when you get into that Hideout label and you look at that little Hideout Productions is the key on this one, which makes it more valuable than some of the more later generic stuff. There's the Bob Dylan, a lot of Motown on this trip, 2 Bruce Coburn. There's that Burgundy and all the other Motowns that I picked up. But there's no way you're going to be able to keep your collection priced, valued, and secure without having this digital copy. Record Store Day right there, it's already in Discogs. So all of that right there at the tip of your fingertips, and you can constantly update that. So I did pick up the Taylor Swift. I was hoping they would have a 7-inch because I think that would have a lot of value. But I'll hang on to this for a while and see what happens with it. So there you go, Discogs, enter your Discogs, and then we'll go from there and do the Gem of the Week.
All right, Detroit Bob, we were just adding it all up, and it comes out to 223.32 for the median value. That's not bad, because I only paid $66 on those records. So I'm doing pretty good there. Of course, that's including the $50 Taylor Swift record, which is actually worth a little bit less. And still not bad considering 160. So a lot of these you say, well, why don't they just sell them at the record store? Because you have a very specialized product here, and unless you know how to list on Discogs and take the time, the effort to grade and list, you probably will never sell them. So that's unrealized value, but it's still value, and you could sell for higher. So that's just median value. All right, this is why we collect 45s. When you look at the values on these things and you start adding up numbers and how much you can get for a great copy of a 45, the numbers don't lie. Median value, if you look at high value, there's some insane numbers in here, of course. But the thing is high value, 54, $800 on a $160 purchase. That's a perfect day, but you know what? That's why you strive for perfect condition, and you always keep a placeholder until you get the perfect. You're just not going to get those kind of returns on collecting LPs, I'm sorry. So enter your stuff into Discogs, look at your high, your medium, and your low values, and figure out where you are as far in terms of grading, and then start going to town. Hey, Detroit Bob, back at you. Here it is, the gem of the week. No, it's not that. It's this. It's the contours. Just a little misunderstanding. It is a Gordy label, that purple label. I love this little insignia here. It says, it's what's in the grooves that count. That's what that says right there. It's a 1966 pressing, an ARP pressing. It's 45 RPM, a 7-inch single. And yeah, the genre, of course, is funk and soul. But this is number 211 on that Northern Soul list that those guys sent me from England. And this is hot. It's collectible right now. So I think I actually found my first Northern Soul legit record. The style is soul, rhythm and blues. Just a little misunderstanding. Backed with determination. And William Robinson wrote the Determination song. Everybody knows that's Smokey, right? A great song. I know the song, but everybody wants to pick contours for the Do You Love Me or First I Look at the Purse. So great pickup, 225 have it, 102 want it. So it's almost a 50% ratio. Median value is $6, but high value, perfect day, perfect condition of this record is $37.02. This I rated as a very good. And that's a conservative rating. With a good cleaning, this may go as a very good plus. What a great record to have. Yes, it's a cutout that was done at the factory. It was probably oversold at the beginning. But don't worry about that. It really doesn't affect the value. So the contours, just a little misunderstanding. I have my first Northern Soul, and I had to go to Northern Michigan. Thank you, RPM, for that. Tim, the record guy, the 45 King, is a proud purveyor of 45, so make sure you get into their shop and check it out. We'll see you next week, and until then, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can find out more about gems like this. Gem of the week. By the way, paid $1, median value $6, high value $37. That's a great return. Cheers. Thanks to one of my friends at Northern Soul Top 500 list over there in the Northern Soul department in Europe, in UK. I got a list for the Northern Soul Top 500. So I went through this list before I went to the record store last time. And sure enough, I recognized the name, the contours here, number 211. Just a little misunderstanding. So there it was, and I think I got my first legit pick off this list. I'll start there. I'm going to start looking for more of these. I know a lot of these bands, but these aren't always the big hits. You say Jay and the Techniques, okay, we got them, but look at the Cooper Rats. Who heard of that? Malibus, you know, Chapter 5, the Artistics. There's some good, deep stuff on here that has great value and great interest if you're into soul like I am. So definitely a win there.